Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the OCNJ Local, your podcast for everything happening here in America's greatest family resort. We're your hosts, Dominick Dougherty and Drew Fasy.
And we are your local guys.
And Drew, I did not forget the countdown this time. We're at 67 days until Labor Day.
67 days, okay.
67 days. More importantly, though, we are 5 days from the 4th of July. What I consider the official kickoff of the summer. 4th of July, pretty much.
Full on beginning 4th of July. Full on.
Yes, the full-scale invasion starts 4th of July weekend. My question is, and what I've been debating here now, is 4th of July weekend this coming weekend, the 1st and the 2nd, or is it the following weekend, the 8th and the 9th?
It's this coming weekend, clearly.
I mean, with 4th of July on a Tuesday, it's just such a weird day. You know,
it is, but what are you going to start 4th of July weekend on Wednesday the 5th? Or Thursday the 6th?
You know,
it's already, it's gone. It's this weekend. People are going to take 4-day weekends, probably 5-day weekends, because Friday is the new Saturday.
That's true.
After COVID, when everyone went remote, I have definitely seen the traffic pouring in on Thursdays the way it used to pour in to the island on Fridays. So I think remote workers are just skipping Friday and heading down the shore.
You know what? I would even argue that it's here already today. I mean, Thursday is wild. It's why not? Why not make it a 6-day weekend? Let's just go for it.
Let's go. I'm with you. Let's go.
It's 4th of July.
Clear by your boss.
4th of July is personally, it's my favorite holiday. I love the 4th of July. I love the fireworks. You know, I love the hustle and bustle. You know, it's one thing that I've always enjoyed is being a local, being here, getting that front row seat to the fireworks. I live right on 8th Street, so I'll walk down. I'll be right there. They'll light them off right in front of me. It's pretty cool. Some of the local pro surfers, you know, Rob Kelly and some of his buddies, they'll be out there surfing under the fireworks. It's pretty neat to watch. And that crowd gets a little bit bigger every year. I've never done it personally. Maybe if my kids get into it, we can go do it one day. But that's a pretty cool tradition that those guys do.
That is pretty cool. I'm with you. 4th of July is my favorite holiday. It's friends and family and barbecue and fireworks. And it's not like any other holiday. You don't have to buy a card. You don't have to buy any presents. You don't have to stuff a turkey. You're just chilling at the beach, right?
And did you know there were actually fireworks at the first 4th of July, the very, very first 4th of July, to celebrate the birth of America? There were actually fireworks at that event in 1776.
I did not know that.
Yes.
Were they purchased at south of the border?
Possibly. There's a good chance. I myself made a little pit stop off Route 1 and bought myself some fireworks, so I'm pretty excited for the 4th of July.
My son was a recipient of some of them. You gave him some fireworks for his graduation, which was greatly appreciated.
Oh man, listen, just make sure you get to the beach and light them off before 8 o'clock. Because as we're talking about today here, backpacks, bathrooms, and beaches, the latest legislation to come through city council that has locals, natives, second homeowners, day trippers, anybody that comes to Ocean City up in arms about limiting the fun that they can have here.
Well, that's true to a certain extent. I can tell you that there's a lot of people that are very happy with the action of the mayor and the city council in curbing the problems that we've had. and it's been this is summer number 2 now. You could argue summer 3, but it wasn't quite as bad 3 years ago. Last summer, it started to become a real mess on the boardwalk, and this year started out. It was a full rage. It was a rage going on.
A rager.
It was a rager, no question.
So, for those of you that aren't familiar with what we're talking about, Ocean City recently implemented an 11 p.m. curfew for anyone under the age of 18. They
Island wide,
island wide,
not just on the boardwalk, but island wide.
They are closing all of the bathrooms on the boardwalk at 10 p.m. And the big kicker that's got a lot of people frustrated is they are closing the beaches at 8 p.m. And the reason for this is that on 11th Street Beach over Memorial Day weekend, as Drew put it, there was a rager. You had thousands of kids coming down there, congregating, meeting up via social media, and not just playing kickball and sitting in the sand. They were having a good old fashioned kegger, pretty much, on the beach, and things got a little bit out of hand. So city had to step in. They had to do something, and unfortunately, what seems to have a lot of people upset is the limits that they put in to curb these parties or these gatherings have affected everybody. And why aren't they just affecting the people who are causing the problem? The real question, though, is how did this problem start? Where did all this come from? Why are all these kids acting this way? So Drew, I know you always do your due diligence. Thank God, because I don't. I live on emotion and wear my heart on my sleeve. Where did all this come from? What have you found out for us here about, why these parties got to the point they got to? Because when I grew up, I grew up in a surrounding town. I'm not a native. I grew up offshore, but when I came onshore, you did not mess with the Ocean City cops. You did not. So what changed?
It was well known. The Ocean City cops did not mess around.
Let's put it this way. I messed around with them a little bit when I was older, and it didn't go well for me.
Yeah, right.
So, truth be told here, I'm no innocent bystander here. I messed around with them, and I did not get a station house adjustment. Let's put it that way.
So let's go back to November of 2020. There was a ballot question in New Jersey whether or not to legalize the sale and consumption of marijuana, of cannabis, in the state. That passed, and in January of 2021, Governor Murphy signed that into law. As a companion bill to that, he signed another piece of legislation, which is what has led us to where we are today. And that legislation basically took any enforcement of bad juvenile behavior away from police. And I have to say, so the concept behind the legislation, I think, was good, and the concept was that they wanted to try to keep relatively good kids who made a simple mistake out of the juvenile justice system, stop them from being incarcerated. At one point in time, New Jersey had the highest rate of incarceration for juveniles in the country. So they wanted to try to slow that down. They wanted to try to keep kids out of the system who were, minor offenders, let's say. Okay.
Kids who were sitting on the beach drinking a beer, maybe smoking a doobie, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and other crimes.
Jaywalking,
No,
shoplifting.
not necessarily that low level, but they committed crimes. But if a kid got caught stealing a bicycle or stealing a car, even, and it was a one-off.
Stealing a car, that's a felony.
Well, but if it's a one-time act, does that kid's life need to be ruined? Right. So I'm just giving you the concept behind the law. Okay. So that was the concept. I think the concept is good. We don't want
like this is a pretty slippery slope of a concept here, if you ask me.
Well,
stealing a car
well, that's an example.
Okay.
All right. Let's go back to how many steals a bicycle.
Okay, that's better.
Locked up until he's 18 and then have a record and blah, blah, blah. Get into the system. And a lot of kids that get into the system go down the wrong road, right? So they wanted to try to stop that. So as a companion bill, they signed legislation basically taking enforcement powers away from the police. So after this legislation, if a juvenile is seen consuming or carrying alcohol, seen carrying or consuming marijuana, the police could do very little. The juvenile did not have to give their name or show ID, and the cops couldn't make them do so. They could give them, if the kid gave them the name, they could give them a written warning on the first offense, a verbal warning on the first offense, a written warning on the second offense, and they could recommend drug or alcohol treatment on a third offense. That's assuming that the kid's going to give them their name, okay, on all three occasions.
I'm going to go home and tell my kid after this that their name is Drew Fasy.
That's right.
That's the name you give every time you get.
Every time. All
Drew
three
Fasy.
Offenses.
Drew Fasy.
So that's a state law which supersedes municipal laws, right? So the cops have no enforcement ability. The kids know this. The kids are smart. They again, 3 years ago it wasn't quite as bad. Then they started to catch on. Hey, we can get away with this. So last year it got bad, and through social media, they were lining up these parties on the beach, and kids were coming from all over. Some of them were, staying in Ocean City and getting dropped off at the boardwalk by their parents, who then went out to dinner or went back to the house and did whatever they were doing, but there was no supervision. A lot of kids coming from offshore, from all over the place. And there ended up being hundreds and then thousands of these kids. And they were showing up with their backpacks full of booze that they probably stole from mom and dad, and drugs and paraphernalia. And they were
fights
going wild on the beach, right? The beaches close at 10, or did. They closed at 10. So the police would start pushing them off the beach when the beach is closed. Well, they were going onto the boardwalk, and they were wreaking havoc. They were harassing people. They were intimidating people. They were getting into fights. They were passing out drunk. They were urinating and vomiting. And probably for a tourist industry, people
sounds like a lot like the barbecue that we just had at your house.
Yeah. That was late night. Yeah. But
no, I understand. For people to make their money.
Yeah. Probably the worst part of it is these kids were going into the shops and just filling their backpacks with merchandise. And I talked to some of them, some of the merchants, and when you have a store with 4 employees or 6 employees, and 75 15 and 16-year-olds come rushing into your store, there's no way to stop them from damaging the store and just looting you blind. And that's what was going on. That was the reality. They were going into the bathrooms, and just it was bad. It was a bad scene. It was a bad scene. So, the Ocean City, as well as all the other shore towns, because they're all having the same problem. It's not just Ocean City. They were trying to go back to the governor, go back to the state, and rescind the law or change the law, amend the law, to try to curb this stuff. And so far, unsuccessfully.
Well, he's busy forcing windmills down everyone's throat down here.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
So, so what did Ocean City do? How did they work around this?
So Ocean City passed some new legislation that gave the cops some teeth. But more importantly, they just put restrictions in that they hope will change the behavior. So they did a number of things. Number one, the beaches in Ocean City close at 8 p.m. now. 8 p.m. beaches are closed. Number two, carrying backpacks will not be allowed on the boardwalk after 8 p.m. Number three is the boardwalk bathrooms close at 10 p.m. And number four, citywide curfew was changed to 11 p.m. So if you're under the age of 18, you now have an 11 p.m. curfew island-wide, not just on the boardwalk, but island-wide. And a lot of people were upset, right? As you referenced, what do you mean we're closing the beaches at 8 o'clock? Well, and they did, and they barricaded on the boardwalk. They have barricades, so you cannot walk off of the boardwalk onto the beach after 8 o'clock.
They are permanent barricades too, by the way. I was up there surfing this morning, and they are actually physically built onto every street end.
That's right.
So
that's right. Yeah, you're not going to get 3 kids pushing through them.
No, definitely not. So
they also allocated 62 police officers to the boardwalk.
I did notice that.
Yeah, a lot of.
I did notice that
yeah.
When I was up there the other day. There were 2 cops at every street end. There was a lot more of a police presence than the Segway cops that used to cruise around, or the 2 or 3 cops on their bikes here and there.
Yeah, there's a lot of cops up there now.
So
the bathroom's closing. The bathroom's closing at 10 p.m. I think had a lot of people scratching their head, and some of the boardwalk merchants were questioning that. But they had a lot of problems with the bathrooms, and especially when the kids come off the boardwalk, they're using the bathrooms in not good ways. It's a problem. The bathrooms become a problem. They're using it to smoke dope. They're going in there drinking. They're doing all kinds of stuff that I'm not even going to talk about, Dom. So bathrooms are closed at 10 o'clock. And then the backpacks. So no backpacks on the boardwalk after 8 p.m. And a lot of people are upset by that. But the reality is that the alcohol, drugs, paraphernalia, in one case, Memorial Day weekend, there was a weapon found in a backpack. So they're using that to bring their booze and their dope and everything onto the beach. But they're also using the backpacks to stuff the merchandise in stores and running out. So those are the things that the city implemented, and from what I understand, the last couple weekends have been peaceful, and after 10 o'clock they're quiet, and it's families strolling the beach and getting a bite to eat and shopping.
Strolling the beach.
Not the boardwalk. Strolling the boardwalk. Excuse me. You're right. Not strolling.
You're not on that beach.
Yeah.
How dare you go on the beach after 8 p.m.?
I've spoken to numerous boardwalk merchants, and they are really, really happy with what the city put in place.
Well,
Where the kids are going, they're going somewhere, but they're not going on the beach in Ocean City.
I'll tell you what. I live in the downtown area, and I've noticed that they like to be on the street a lot more now. Because the past couple weekends, I've noticed that the amount of drunken teenagers walking around my neighborhood has definitely increased. Not to the tune of thousands of teenagers, you know. Still, you got 5, 10 drunken kids walking around yelling, doing their thing at 2 o'clock in the morning. You notice it.
Well,
it might have just been, honestly though, it might have just been this Airbnb down the street from me that had like 11 kids in it. I believe you did some work to repair the damage they did. Man, when they were checking out on Saturday morning, that was like the scene from The Walking Dead pouring out of that place. More power to them. When I was their age, I was doing the same thing.
Well, I was going to say, we've always had some element of that, right? I mean, it's a short town. People come down and have fun. Kids are going to steal mom and dad's booze. They're going to get drunk, and they're going to, be out on the street, and they're going to hoot and holler. So we've always had that was always part of some of that. Yeah.
That was part of coming to the shore for everybody. You come to the shore, you're going to sneak out, you're going to go to a party, you're going to have some fun stuff like that. When this
what we had on the beach in the boardwalk was like the 2020 mostly peaceful protest, as the city's
exactly
behind it. It was that bad. I mean, it was crazy up there.
Yeah, I agree.
Were going because the kids felt that they could do whatever they wanted with impunity, right? They weren't going to get it, and to the point where they were screaming in cops' faces, they were spitting on cops, they were harassing the merchants and the kids working in the boardwalk shops, and they were spitting on them, and it was really a bad scene, and you hate to see that anywhere. You certainly hate to see it in America's greatest family resort. So the mayor had enough, and the city council had enough. They weren't going to put up with it, and they had a series of unscheduled meetings and passed this legislation pretty quickly, and they put an end to it pretty quickly. I have to give them a lot of credit.
No, they definitely have. When all this came about, social media once again, was abuzz with people commenting, how could you do this? How could you take away the beach? Why are you taking this away from me? I'm an adult. I want to grab a piece of pizza. I want to walk with my wife or my family on the beach. This isn't fair. You should take it away from them. A lot of people also said, like, well, why isn't there a place where these kids can go in town? Why isn't there something that they can do? Well,
and making excuses for kids too. I saw a lot of that. Oh, they're just being kids. Let kids be kids. Well,
no, these weren't kids being kids, Drew.
No.
These were kids like setting up tables, having beer pong tournaments. They were full on
stealing, spitting on cops, on cops, and cursing at cops is not a kid being a kid.
No,
not in my world.
Not certainly. In my world either.
No. And that was, that's a good point, Don, because one of the things that the mayor pointed out is, parents have to take some responsibility here. Dropping your kids off at the boardwalk at 15, 16, 17 years old with their backpacks and leaving them there for 4 hours. That's no bueno. That's no good.
I don't know, Drew. I used to do that all the time. We would take the bus over, we would hang out all night, and we would take the bus home.
But you're a mainland kid. We expect bad behavior from you. I'm talking Ocean City here, Dom.
Well, listen, to be honest with you, we have a mutual friend who has a daughter that works on the boardwalk, and she attended this Memorial Day weekend extravaganza, let's call it that. And she said that it was mostly out of towners
Yep.
who were having these parties. However, they were hot, so it was okay. So
Okay.
it was highly attractive out of town individuals who were putting this all together, and for them that made it okay.
Well, it might have been hot, but it was pretty ugly behavior.
I will agree with that. We'll see what happens moving forward. We'll see if this curfew ever gets lifted. I remember
It's being lifted for 4th of July.
Yes,
It's being pushed back to 10 o'clock. Get that out there so you can go to the beach and watch the fireworks.
But then you need to leave immediately after. Do not try and hang out. Do not set up and organize a raging party, because you only have till 10. So we'll see, though, because I remember when I was growing up, coming from the mainland, bringing all my bad behavior with me, the beaches were always pretty locked down. It got more and more lax, more and more lax, more and more lax, and then this happened. So, we'll see over time how long and how much they adhere to this 8 p.m. curfew, if it'll even be around, next year.
Yeah, and I've heard. I talked to a city councilman, and they're planning on being reactive and flexible. So if tweaks need to be made in either direction, right? They need to tighten some things up. They'll tighten some things up. If they feel like it's okay to relax some of this stuff, then they'll try to go ahead and do that.
Well, we'll see. We can only hope that this has sent a message to everyone that, hey, Ocean City's not going to tolerate this. We mean what we say. We are America's greatest family resort, and we're here for the families first. Not a place for your adolescent to come and run amok and ruin the experience for everyone.
That's right.
Are we all going to have to bite the bullet and suck it up a little bit for this summer? It sounds like it. Fingers crossed, though. There's good things in the horizon, and things can go back to the way they were when we could all just freely enjoy things and people were respectful of what it means to be here on this little piece of heaven.
That's right.
Well, we got to implement this new segment here, Drew, and I got to give a shout out to my son, Ben, because he came up with this at your barbecue, and it's called the Dog of the Day. And if you would like your dog to be featured on Dog of the Day, send us a direct message on Instagram or Twitter, and send us a picture of your dog, and we will gladly put him on Dog of the Day. Our first ever, though, Dog of the Day goes to Frida. She is an English bulldog that thinks she is a lap dog, but she is the sweetest, kindest.
She thinks she's a racehorse.
Listen, she is amazing. Glad that we got to know Frida. And if you want to see a picture of Frida, check out our Instagram to pay some tribute to the Dog of the Day.
And definitely got to give props for Benny for that idea. It's a great idea. People who have dogs love their dogs, right? So let's celebrate them.
We both love our dogs. We couldn't give it to our dogs though the first time around. We can't.
No.
That's just not right.
If we did, it would go to my dog Lulu. But just saying, not for nothing.
All right, I'll give you that one, Drew. I'll give you that one.
No, I love Lucy too. I love Lucy too.
I'll give you that one.
Hey, I want to give a shout out also. Friday of Memorial Day weekend at noon, the city unlocks the beach, right? They have a big show on the beach, and they have a key that they actually unlock the beach. And immediately following that is the business person's plunge. And this year, Ocean City celebrated 20 years of the business person's plunge, which is a kind of a quintessential Ocean City Ginchy thing, kind of a la Mark Seufer. Mark Seufer always came up with some great, neat ideas. And this is one of those things where a bunch of business people and city councilmen and various people, they right after the unlocking of the beach, they all go marching into the ocean in their suits and their briefcases. And they celebrated 20 years. And a local guy named John Walton, he's a local realtor. He was one of the founders of this, and he is the current kind of steward of this. He organizes and pushes it. And if you know John, John is just a great guy. I've never heard a bad word spoken about John. He's a good dude. He's a funny guy. And this is a quirky thing, and he takes the ball and runs with it. And it's a quintessential Ocean City thing. So I wanted to give a shout out to John and everybody involved in that for a really neat thing on Friday Memorial Day weekend.
Excellent. It is a fun event to attend. If you've never been, go check it out. Watch a bunch of people jump into the ocean in their suits and the briefcases.
Dresses and high heels. Yeah.
It's a good time. Well, everyone, thanks for tuning in again to the OCNJ Local, your podcast for everything happening here in America's greatest family resort. We're your hosts, Dominick Dougherty and Drew Fasy.
We are your local guys. Peace.
Till next time. Peace.